Gosh, talk about an iconic, music venue here in New Orleans. I mean, for over 60 years, the greatest musicians in the world have been playing in this room, and it's an honor, and I'm humbled to be here for this conversation today.
And for, probably, and I don't want to start fights at Walt Disney Imagineering, for two of the biggest music fans at Walt Disney Imagineering, sometimes our jobs are good, but today, they're awesome.
It's great. Yeah. Well, thank you. Of course, we talk about the name of our attraction, Tiana's Bayou Adventure. It was announced here 1 year ago that they announced the name of the attraction, and it's hard to believe it's been a year. Boy, it's been a moment since that stage.
Now that it takes stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But what we're here today is to make another special announcement about our music guests. Before I bring him to the stage, I want to let you know this man is a well-decorated artist in the worlds of R&B, soul music, gospel. He's a native New Orleanian, multi-Grammy Award winner, writer, producer, arranger, musician, and an amazing human being. And we have been very lucky to secure him to come on board our team and be another cultural consultant, for the music of New Orleans. Also, he's writing an original song for us, as well as arranging songs for Princess and the Frog. Please welcome to the stage, PJ Morton.
Yo, what's up, y'all? I didn't hear you say dancer, though.
Got to save something for him, Yeah. Can't keep it all up in one. Well, it's been a minute. PJ, first of all, we're thrilled. We're thrilled to be here in New Orleans with you. We are thrilled to have you as a music partner.
Me too, man.
And, we could not believe our good fortune. The doors came flying open when we made the call to PJ's team, and PJ's like, how can I help? You were so generous with your time, and you continue to be an honored partner. But there's something going on here, between Disney on our side and New Orleans that it kind of has a little history.
Yeah. Well, I think for me personally, it's a dream come true, first of all. I mean, Disney is an institution, and it's always been so closely connected to the music, it's always so intentional. And so as a kid, I remember, when you had the fun day when they bring the TV into the yeah. But I think the music, Mary Poppins for me in the beginning, and hearing those songs, it connected to me, and I think I felt them differently than people around me. I'm like, it hit me deeply, and continued to me and my sister harmonizing with the Little Mermaid and making our own versions. To me now, actually being able to create some original music for Disney, it's just really a full circle moment, and it's also, I get to be me and have you in my city and represent New Orleans, so it's doubly exciting for me. So yeah, it's a full circle exciting moment for me.
Well, that's absolutely, and same for us, more than you know. And one of the interesting things, you can't talk about Disney without talking about music, and you can't talk about New Orleans without talking about music. Can you tell us a little bit about the music, of what music means to this city and to the culture of this place?
Yeah, I think it's synonymous with the city. I don't think you get New Orleans and you get the movement and the rhythm of New Orleans without the music. You don't get the history of New Orleans without Jazz Fest and what that brings and all the talent. And we have it on the street. I mean, you can find it at any moment, at any time, any age. So for me, I knew it before I even understood it fully. I understood music. I understood the importance of it. I've always been proud to be a musician. I know in other places to be a doctor and to be a lawyer and to be, all these things are important. But when you're a musician in New Orleans, it's a badge of honor. We take it seriously. There's integrity in that. Because if you make it out of here, that means that means you can play for real because you got to compete with the little kid over here with his trumpet, and he will burn you. You know,
He is good.
if you can't play. So that's just it's instilled in you. And for me, of course, the history of New Orleans with jazz and R&B. But for me, being a preacher's kid, raised in church, and how much gospel also influenced what we know as R&B and what we, in New Orleans, gospel with my father being a singer, all of that was so important. And so I was just destined for music, it was all around me. And it continues to be that. My man Reed always says, musicians here are our most renewable resource. It's what we produce the best, and we continue to take that to the world. And I'm just happy to be a part of that cloth.
That's so beautifully put, because it's a generational. It is not. It doesn't stop and start here in New Orleans. Much, and I talk about the parallels between Disney and New Orleans. The story culture of Disney and New Orleans, the culture of magic, the culture of music. For Disney, it hasn't stopped for the past 100 years, and New Orleans has been even longer.
That's right.
That's amazing. And speaking a little bit of legacy and history, Ted, this is not the first time Disney's come to New Orleans.
No.
Talk about some of the early experiences you know about.
Yeah, so in I believe it was in the 1960s, Walt and his family took a vacation here to New Orleans, and they quite literally fell in love with the city, fell in love with the people, fell in love with every corner of it, the music, the food, and fell in love with it so much that he recreated it in Southern California, in Anaheim, and that's the New Orleans that I grew up with, because I was born and raised in LA, and so my first experience with New Orleans was the love letter version that Walt had created there in Anaheim. I got to tell you though, when I finally got my first trip here, to be a part of this wonderful project, I got here and I kind of walked through the French Quarter and said, "Oh, now I get it. I see what Walt."
Right.
And then when I started to meet the wonderful people, especially Turkey Chase Restaurant and all the people that we've met, and some of the places you all here have visited today at some of our cultural centers, etc. It's something that gets in you, and you want to share it with the world. So it makes sense to me what Walt saw, what Walt felt, and why he wanted to share it with as many people as he could.
Yeah, and we're carrying that forward. We're taking that next step. Because it's been a while. New Orleans Square. I mean, when was New Orleans Square dedicated?
I'm not good with dates. I went to art school.
It was it was mid '60s.
Yes.
Yeah, it was mid '60s, and the mayor of New Orleans came out, and it was a wonderful. But as we look forward now, as we go forward and expand on New Orleans as part of the Disney Parks experience, we have a new story to tell.
We do, and preceding that news story, in between our news story, I should have mentioned this, was of course the amazing breakthrough film, The Princess and the Frog, which I believe is from 2009.
2009. Right.
So I told you art school, I don't know dates. So that was an amazing, again, sort of recognition of New Orleans, and more in particular, someone who embodies some of what I've personally witnessed, and some of the generosity and the sense of community that people here. That's Tiana, that's Princess Tiana. And so now, as John mentioned, we're creating that next chapter story to celebrate Tiana, and you can't celebrate Tiana without celebrating New Orleans. And so it's all connected: the food, the music, Tiana, the community. And so we're working really hard to sort of, do that honor, and really share with the rest of the world, come to our parks, and give them a taste of what we had the privilege of experiencing.
Right, and again, it's a touch point. We're not going to be able to recreate New Orleans, but yeah, you walk around New Orleans Square and you see the similarities and you see the touch points, and you go, this is a feel-good moment to make you want to come to this city. It really is. We're not trying to recreate it at Disneyland other than the feel and the essence, but even that, it's only part of it. So when we brought you on and we started working with, we've been working on this for a moment. Little while. And PJ started with us a little while back, but it started with music, obviously, because that's where we needed help. We had the existing legacy of the music of Princess and the Frog. Randy Newman gave us a great tableau to work from. But we're telling a new story. It's time to go forward and talk a little bit about the process of your experience with us as we started.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a huge Randy Newman fan. He's done such an amazing job, but not only that movie, but so many. You know, he's made me cry a couple times. But it was exciting to me, the idea of creating something original for this. But that was also a challenge, you know, just trying to, all the songs are so well done. People are very familiar with them now. So to try to, the challenge was to try to fit in with what already existed, but also bring something fresh and move the story along. We know what Tiana has done and what happened and fell in love. Now what is she doing and how is she continuing that story? And I took that challenge, obviously very seriously because of the history of me willing myself to get to Disney. You know, I was gonna get here at some point somehow. I always thought it was gonna be a movie, right? Because you don't naturally think you're gonna be a part of an attraction because who does that? You know? So I couldn't have planned that one. So then we started going. I mean, this was a while ago, and we were going back and forth with ideas. And it really became collaborative. I think I wrote about 6 songs initially, and we started to narrow down words. These guys were so helpful, Brandon, and the whole team. It just was a new experience for me. I'm usually writing songs for albums and people, and we started to get there one by one. I remember we were talking the other day, the bridge was something that we were like, that's not going anywhere. We're keeping that.
Done. Yes.
Yeah, and we kind of knew when it felt right, and then we started to adjust other pieces of the song. And we got to a place where, I'm appreciative of this team, all of you, because I was allowed to be myself while also trying to accomplish the goal, so it's very much so a collaborative effort, and we got to something really special. I mean, I'm so excited about this song. I don't know how much I can say about the song, but I also
said about as much as you can say.
Okay, I figured, leave it on the low. But I will say that we know as New Orleanians, in the room, how many times people tell us how New Orleans is supposed to be presented. And we've seen movies and things where it's like, okay, that's not necessarily my home, but all right, I see what piece of New Orleans that is. But these guys are being so intentional about making sure that the story is told in an authentic way and that the music is done in an authentic way. Everybody who I'm bringing along to be a part of this is just very authentic to New Orleans and very real, not trying to make a caricature of what New Orleans is, but really just being our city,
Absolutely, and that striving for authenticity, and that comes from the leadership, from the top of the team on down, Carmen, Sharita,
Yes.
Ted. I mean, you were here long before I was doing research, in the pandemic and coming back. I mean, Ted, can you talk a little bit about some of the research?
I mean, the research is what we do, and for those of us that are, lucky to be with us here with PJ, we wanted to share that experience of research with you, just to give you as much of that feeling that we had, right? And being so impressed of what this city has, what's part of its history, you know what I mean, and how, to your point, PJ, about just how much a part of music and how it's revered here in such a way, right? That it is, some places are oil towns, some places are movie towns. This is music town, Yeah.
And food.
Sorry.
No.
But I got distracted.
I'm sorry.
No. Well, let's talk about. I mean,
The
we
research,
were talking
yeah.
research, and was New Orleans Jazz Museum today?
Yep. Some folks went to the New Orleans Jazz Museum, very important place to sort of celebrate, see that celebration of that legacy that PJ is alluding to. I mean, they enshrine that here because it is that important, and that is music. To your point, when you look around the posters here, it starts here and it goes around the world, and that's how people around the world, New Orleans, I would say, probably do the music first and the food, and that's probably its greatest export, is that love for the music. And so the research, going to the Jazz Museum, going to the New Orleans Historical Collection, it's all very important. It was very important to us because, like you said, we want to be as authentic as possible. We're not here to tell our guests a history lesson, or we want to give people the feeling that we're feeling, because we want to be armed with that knowledge and that love that people have for their food and music and this, that. That's what we got the real with us.
Yeah. And I do want to say also, because I am the real, I'm born and raised in New Orleans, but I also represent something else, which I think is, moving forward as well. We talk about our past a lot, but sometimes we stay there in New Orleans and we only talk about that past. But there's also so much happening with this new generation of New Orleanian musicians who respect that and love that, but also bring it forward. And I think that's what this whole thing is about. Is carrying that torch.
Absolutely. I think it's so important because it's something I've noticed in the city. And, I go to places, my boss, Trisha, who's here with us today as well, we talk about how music is our emotional storyteller. But it's deeper here. It's deeper here in the sense of music. You talk about performance venues, you talk about musicians, you talk about generations of musicians. But music, like food, like other things, here is part of the culture. It's not just something people do. I think of Second Line, I think of, the church. Music is omnipresent here. And can you talk a little bit about that, how you felt growing up with music around you in this place?
Yeah, of course, for me, music started in church for me because that's where I was most of the time. Maybe more than I wanted to be, 4 times a week sometimes. But that for me was just very important in my upbringing. But also going to St. Aug and being a part of the jazz band and our marching 100 and like all of that stuff. Music was literally everywhere a part of my life. But I think New Orleans is one of the only places where you'll find fourth generation musicians. Straight, honestly, from straight to Congo Square to the world. You know what I'm saying? So only here you can tell those stories and really trace it back to there's been musicians in my family. When I got to St. Aug, I would see trumpet players that are 15 years old. But their great grandfather and grandfather and father played, and they're what I'm saying. It's a lineage, and that's all I've ever known. But like you said, it's omnipresent. So whatever you do here. Music is the underbed, it's always there. And I didn't fully appreciate that until I left home and noticed, oh wait, it's not music, everywhere I go. And it's not music a part of everything I'm doing. Wow, that's unique to my home. And I really started to appreciate it more. It took me 10 years to move back home after I went to college and started my career. But I came back home because I started to realize the importance of how unique it is, and now I gotta capture this magic, and historically that magic was captured and brought to New York and brought to LA and brought to Chicago because the industry wasn't necessarily here, but the magic was here. So for me, coming home was, I'm gonna take care of my own magic here in New Orleans and really shine a light on my own magic that I grew up with because I have a different understanding and a full appreciation for it.
Yeah, to go away from it. It really is to go away from it and come back with probably shine the biggest light on it for you. You don't know something. You don't know you got something good until
it was
it's
just
gone.
second nature. It was just what I knew. I didn't know that was special.
You didn't know it was any different. Right. When we talk about Princess and the Frog, we talk about Tiana's Bayou adventure. We jumped into music right away, Ted. Talk a little bit about why we wanted to expand. I mean, Randy Newman wrote some great tunes.
Yeah, they're amazing tunes, and there's tunes that, as we've proven, people hear it, it's that earworm and they recognize it. But it was time for a next chapter story. I think that the people who love Princess Tiana, the fans, I think they deserve more, right? More of what was captured in Princess and the Frog, and I think that's what we brought folks on like PJ to help us deliver more of what's already great. And there's a long legacy of like music as a part of our attractions. I mean, me as a fan, as a kid, You know, it's like that was as much of an experience of going to Disneyland and those songs, It's a Small World, you know, Pirate's Life for Me, and you know, that theme from the Haunted Mansion. And I was telling people at dinner last night, my grandmother, you know, for Filipinos, my Lola, her favorite, you know, attraction at Disneyland was the Country Bear Jamboree. It was a bunch of bears playing like all down Disney. She loved it. And I realized later in life that, you know, that is as much of the experience of what we do and what we deliver as Imagineers as is audio animatronic figures and whatnot. And I thought, you know what? And you know, it's funny you mentioned like you thought it would be a film, but the Sherman Brothers wrote some of my favorite songs both for Disney films and Disney parks, so it's not too late.
Oh, I'm counting it out.
Yeah. This is just the beginning. Yeah, exactly.
But you know, this story deserves, I thought, and the team agreed with me. This is where I was a little bit selfish at the beginning. I said, we need a theme song. It deserves a theme song that people are going to be humming and singing all the way home. And I think we've seen examples of that last few days. You know, working on this, people just can't get it out of their heads, but in a very good way. And so, you know, this is up there. And I mentioned to y'all, you know, earlier this week that it was a privilege for this team to create brand new Disney characters, right? It's a privilege to create brand new Disney music for an attraction in the park. Because, like me, that song for It's a Small World, I can only hear it when I ride that ride. A Pirate's Life for Me, I can only hear it when I ride that ride. People will only hear the magic that PJ is bringing. Probably not, because we're going to spread it out to them crazy. But you're not going to hear it for real with Tiana being right in front of your face until they come to either Magic Kingdom or Disneyland and they experience Tiana's Body Adventure. That gets me excited.
That blows my mind. Yeah.
For years to come. I mean, you think about those songs. Some of those songs are 60 years old.
Yeah.
You know, your kids and your kids' kids.
They might get tired of it by then.
Grandpa, let's go hear your song. I can hear it now. Yeah, let's go. Too soon? Too soon. Well, Ted, to your point, we are here, you know, we've been here for the past week or so recording the music for the attraction. We still have work to do. We're still ongoing. You know, we have a little time. You know, as far as you've been bringing in some artists and you've been showing us a lot of the talent, you know, that you bring to the table in New Orleans, because as outsiders, we're experts on Imagineering. We're experts. I'm an expert on music Imagineering. Story, you know, Ted is our story expert as well as directing the entire experience. But we all partner around story and emotion, and music becomes the emotional storyteller, whether it be in the Princess and the Frog film or whether it's in our attraction. As we wrap out here, I just wanted you to talk a little bit about some of the emotions you felt when you're thinking about this character, when you're thinking about Princess Tiana, and you're taking the next step in the story legacy of her story in The Princess and the Frog.
Yeah, I mean, that felt like a big responsibility, honestly. You know, it's like, okay, because the story's been told through the song, through the music, and you know, so that just felt like a big responsibility. And for me, I just wanted to make sure that it represented well and that it you know, in all humility, fit right in with those amazing songs that existed already. But the fun part for me was, because it doesn't exist, I had to imagine Tiana now and what she's doing, and you know what she's running, and how her dreams are coming true, and what's going on. And for me, that is the that's the kid part of me, which I look up to all of you guys, because you get to be grown kids all your life, and coming up with stories. And I don't want to grow up, And so
Pan syndrome.
yeah, for sure. So I get to be a kid through the music still, and remember the way those songs made me feel and how I connected to them. So yeah, big responsibility for me, but very fun trying to imagine what it is now and how we say that in this, songs. That's always the challenge, is to try to get all these thoughts into, a 2-minute, 3-minute song, right? But I think we've done a cool job doing it, and I'm happy we got here.
Oh,
that was
exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking us on this journey too. It's not done. It's not done. We're working our way through it. But to that point, you really are part of the team. You really are part of the team. You're an Imagineer at heart. It's clear to all of us, you know, and it's so special it's been so special to work with you, and we will continue to work together. But now that you're part of the team, you know, some of the artists at Imagineering took inspiration to actually create something for you. So if you want to stand up with me, Ted, can you tell us a little bit about what we have here?
So I mean, as many of the fans know, you know, a huge part of our storytelling are the characters, and characters with story and emotion and whatnot. But we use these characters to tell the story and move it along, but they're the touch points that a lot of people recognize. Oh, that's the genie, that's Moana, you know, that's Stitch, that's Belle, that's Tiana, right? But I think that the music and this song, the song that PJ brought, is as much of a character, you know, and as much of a storyteller to Tiana's Bayou Adventure, that we wanted to cement that. And we had a very talented artist at Walt Disney Imagineering sort of like show how much you are just as much a character in our story.
Yeah, look at that.
And, yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's amazing.
I'm not gonna let Randy Domingue make me cry. That's beautiful, man. Thank you so much. Wow, I'm speechless. So good, and it's got the little Disney on there. You know what I'm saying? I love it. Thank you guys so much, man. Much love to you. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing us along. What a journey.